the nearshore supply chain for dating worldwide. Today we discuss.
Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com.
Today we are talking about how a nearshore strategy regarding supply chain can increase the efficiency in dating overall. And first, yes, it's going to be a quote-unquote dating video, but please bear with me. We have to go first with economics. Yet again, I apologize. Okay, let's discuss this nearshore supply chain strategy and buzzword going worldwide. Basically, since we had globalization on the past, let's say 50, 60 years, something like that, now the supply chain worldwide is intertwined, is connected, because the supply chain and actually economics overall, the invisible hand, what it's looking for is efficiency regarding cost, production, supplies, and so on. And for instance, in places like the United States, where in the United States, most people have a very good standard of living compared to the rest of the world. And what happened is that having a very significant, very important manufacturing base is more difficult in the United States because the human capital, especially for low-end manufacturing, is pretty much very expensive and hence inefficient in order to be competitive on the whole market. And I know there are populist politicians like Trump trying to bring back that particular manufacturing base. However, that is next to impossible, or if it's possible, it's going to be at a very draconian cost because the labor capital is going to be way more expensive in the United States compared to a third country. And we saw the collapse on manufacturing bases, like in Detroit, for instance, that was the city, a very vibrant city 100 years ago, where auto manufacturing was going on within the United States. However, when globalization happened, what happened is that this particular manufacturing of automakers just starting to send their manufacturing base to third countries where it was way cheaper to produce auto cars, new cars, and hence become more competitive and at expenses of the standard of living and the economics on this particular city of Detroit. And now we see that Detroit has one of the worst standards of living for a large American mega city. And also, I have to be fair, the United States still very important regarding manufacturing worldwide. However, is insufficient in order to cover all of the manufacturing necessities for this particular and very special market that is the United States. Remember, the United States, the size of the economy is over 25 trillion US dollars. That's over 20% of the worldwide GDP. So we saw the rise in China that they created since the 70s and the 80s. They created the atmosphere, the ecosystem in order to have a very good manufacturing base. Cheap labor, but at the same time, sufficient capital in order to produce more efficiently very low-end products. And also, of course, the legal and the tax frame and everything had to be put together in order to make China way more efficient for low-end manufacturing base. And of course, we have a bunch of examples in Taiwan with semiconductors, also places like Vietnam, like Thailand, like India right now is becoming more and more important regarding the supply chain worldwide. So basically, you have the best of both worlds. You have a very nice, very significant consumer base in places like the United States and also in the European Union. And you have more efficient manufacturing production in places like China, like Taiwan, and Chinese Taipei, if the Chinese are watching this, and also in places like Vietnam, also places in Latin America as well, and also the Philippines and India right now, very important. And of course, you have Mexico, and we're going to discuss Mexico a little bit later. But Mexico, of course, the standards of living are lower than the United States. Hence, you have a more cost-effective labor force over there. So it's very efficient to produce the manufacturer base, have your manufacturer base in Mexico, and then send it to the United States, Canada, or other important markets, especially after the NAFTA deal that right now is called the USMCA, actually. And of course, this process of globalization of the supply chain has winners and also has losers. Sadly, it is what it is. This is just like Darwin 101, natural selection and survival of the fittest. And it's sadly, but it is what it is. And this is how free market capitalism works on the first place. And, in this channel, we are capitalists. And of course, the people that suffer is, for instance, the people in Detroit, that the only skill that they have is being, auto manufacturers, and they were not able to parlay those particular skills to another high-end activity in order to maintain their standards of living. And it's a sad fact, but it is what it is. By the other hand, what the people that win, of course, the people involved on these supply chains, but also the consumer overall on these particular markets benefit, both on the consumer market and also on the producing market, because in the producing market, you have better salaries, better jobs, better incomes, that increases a lot their standards of living. And on the consumer-based market, you have, of course, more competition, better prices, or better quality. Most likely you have both, depending on the particular product that you're buying or you're purchasing. Anyways, but at the end, that makes more efficient, less complex, and the worldwide market and the worldwide economy becomes, of course, more efficient, and hence you increase the transactions overall. Now, things started to change since, of course, we had the 2020, we had COVID, and the supply chains worldwide halted for a few weeks, a few months, depending on the market. And what happened is also you had a bunch of, let's say, geopolitical issues. For instance, Trump in the United States, back then Trump was the president of the United States, and he had a bunch of issues regarding China and China policies. And I'm not saying China is perfect, and I'm not saying Trump is completely mistaken. However, these issues regarding geopolitics that started to create frictions on the worldwide supply chains. Because, for instance, Trump started slapping tariffs on Chinese producers, and what happened is that tariff, that is a tax, that of course increases the unitary prices from products made in China and other third countries. This is a very complex supply chain. It's not just about US and China, but the main point is that that increases the prices for the average American consumer, and also reduces the margins and the cost structure from the Chinese producers as well. And that, of course, starts to create a lot of frictions on the supply chain on both sides. So at the end, what is the tendency that we're seeing right now is nearshoring. And nearshoring is basically, of course, same process with globalization, sending the production and the supply chain to a third country. But this time, instead of doing it, in this particular case, in the US, instead of sending that particular production to a very remote place that also not necessarily has the same values and virtues of your own market, in this case of the United States, and you have China that have a completely different set of values regarding democracy and human rights, but also regarding work and efficiency and that kind of thing. Of course, you have both good things and bad things about both of these particular markets and cultures, the US and China, and I'm not going to get into why today. But the main point is that becomes, right now, more of an asset to instead sending the particular production base to a close country with similar values, not necessarily the same, similar values, more similar culture, a geographic closer location. In this particular case is Mexico. Mexico has become a very important supplier and manufacturer producer for the United States since NAFTA on the early 90s, and the Mexican economy has grown significantly. And also you have seen a bunch of investments on Mexican soil thanks to the NAFTA agreement that's called the USMCA right now, and of course Canada is involved as well. So the reason in order to do nearshoring is that, of course, you increase a little bit, let's say, your cost, your structure, your margin. However, you have less risk, less political risk, less cultural risk. And of course, the supply chains are shorter. Also, they are on similar time zones that enhances more the efficiency of the process. And overall, that takes away a bunch of headaches that you have compared to have your particular supply chain on a very remote, distant location that at the same time doesn't have the same culture and the same values. Now it's time to apply nearshoring to the dating market, and my answer is straight up yes. And actually, we already have been seeing this particular process with the quote-unquote passport bros. That, in case you don't know, passport bros are those particular gentlemen, but also there are women as well, by the way, that they look for. They are on a, let's say, on a bad market, a bad dating market, that in this particular case, overall, the United States has a terrible dating market. And you can see every chart is going to say the same thing. Anyways, and this particular gentleman, they increase a lot the value and the efficiency on the dating process when they move to a very remote place where they have way better dating markets. Particular case could be Thailand, the Philippines, places like that. But just as with the supply chain on worldwide and geopolitics, a very remote, let's say, offshoring of the dating market that these people, the passport bros, take. What happens is a lot of social nuances, logistic costs, issues, that kind of thing, that also still better than the local market, but with a lot of nuances that are, let's say, tricky to resolve when you have a very distant culture. Now, regarding dating, can you do nearshore dating? Actually, completely yes. Instead of going a very remote place like Thailand, the Philippines, and those places, unless you have a, let's say, a tactical advantage, competitive advantage over there, and you can do it on a nearshore dating market. Like, for instance, many people are going to Colombia, but a bunch of issues regarding safety in Colombia that, I mean, they're exaggerated, but they are happening, I have to say. And also in places like Mexico, but Mexico doesn't have a great dating market. I have to be fair with that. The Venezuelan market is way better than the Mexican market, but I'm not today to talk about the Venezuelan market per se. The Venezuelan market gives you a great edge compared to the rest of the worldwide market. That's for another day. I mean, I discussed this a lot. But the main point is that when you, instead of exporting, offshoring your dating market, you can do is a nearshore. Someone, instead of, regarding, for instance, the languages, it's easier for an English-speaking individual to learn, for instance, to learn Spanish, way easier to learn Spanish rather than learn Russian or Chinese or Thai or Filipino, something like that. Also, the time zones are going to be close, so you can be connected with friends and family as well, and also with your local dating market. Also, regarding culture, the cultural differences between, let's say, the North American countries, US and Canada, compared to Latin nations. Of course, there is a gap regarding culture, but regarding values, they are similar values like the American people. I mean, it's a funny thing, and many people don't understand that, but actually, that's what it is. The Latino culture is very similar to the traditional American culture, not today's American culture, the woke, progressive thing. I mean, not going to discuss that today. Another point is that a nearshore dating strategy can work way better than a completely offshore dating strategy, depending on your particular, of course, your particular preferences, also your particular culture, your particular values, and so on and so on. And I mean, this is not just for Americans. I mean, basically what I'm seeing right now regarding my demographic analysis worldwide is that right now it's more convenient to offshore and nearshore your particular dating market, because right now, thanks to globalization, in this particular case, dating market globalization that we see on social media, and especially on Instagram, we already discussed that, and now on TikTok, is that the market has become globalized and it's a Pandora's box that cannot be closed. So you have to adapt. I mean, you have to be very Darwinistic and have a very Darwinistic approach for this particular dilemma that is the worldwide dating market. So right now, instead of just trying to work out your local market that worldwide is failing for local purposes, and right now offshore or at least nearshore it. And this is something that I am recommending not only for Western internationals, but also gentlemen in Latin America, that they will have better options elsewhere. I'm not saying the Latin American markets are bad markets, are actually good markets, but I'm talking the average. I'm talking for the average Latino right here. I'm recommending also because they have other markets. I mean, could be just regional markets in Latin America. Let's say a Colombian, maybe dating an Argentinian, something like that, and seeing better results that for a Colombian man, just dating Colombian women for themselves. Something like that. Of course, varies case by case. But right now, a nearshore dating strategy is the most successful strategy, most efficient strategy for the worldwide market purposes.
Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, VenezuelaInsider.com. Thanks again and have a nice day.